Thank you for joining us for this month's Vertical IQ Industry Focus, where we look in detail at various sectors of the national economy, highlighting those industries that are doing well and those where the reality is less bright. Industry Focus is presented by Vertical IQ's Chief Economist, Ingo Windsor. Ingo was the founder of Local Market Monitor, is a graduate of MIT and Boston University, and he's not your typical economist. He presents data from a very practical business perspective and doesn't mind avoiding cautious conclusions. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ingo.
Thank you very much, Julie. Every month we look at industries in a specific sector of the U.S. economy, how they're doing, and how they may be affected by current developments. Our focus this month is on the agriculture sector, which produces crops, meat, and animal products like eggs and milk. It does this through almost 2 million farms, the vast majority of which own less than 200 acres and make almost no money. Most of the foods we eat are produced on about 100,000 big farms where economies of scale provide very efficient operations. The three biggest U.S. crops are wheat, soybeans, and corn. Wheat is grown for flour, of course, and also has a large export market. Despite small ups and downs, it's grown on about 15 million hectares. The drop in 2024 was due to tariff disputes that sharply cut the exports. A much bigger crop is soybeans, grown on 35 million hectares and used almost entirely as animal feed for chickens, pigs, and cattle. The same goes for corn, also grown on about 35 million hectares and used both for animal feed and to produce ethanol, although some is used to make cornmeal and corn flour. The sweet corn we eat at summer barbecues is a small specialty product. The acreage devoted to other crops like rice, potatoes, peanuts, cotton, sugar beans, and lentils is much smaller and tends to vary more from year to year. The reason so much farm acreage is committed to animal feed is the consumer demand for meat. Last year, 9.5 billion chickens were slaughtered in the U.S. The consumption of chicken has steadily increased in the last 10 years, partly because of the low cost and partly because consumers are eating less red meat. Chicken costs less to produce than other meats because chickens are the most efficient at turning animal feed into body weight. After increasing steadily for years, the consumption of pork leveled off in recent years at 130 million animals. Pigs require more feed per pound of meat than chickens, but not as much as cattle. Consumption of red meat declined in recent years, with 30 million cattle slaughtered in 2025. Unlike crops like corn and wheat, cattle farmers cannot easily change how much beef to produce in response to demand. When prices are low or production costs are high, they typically cut the size of their herd, but it then takes years to rebuild it. That's the main reason beef prices are so high right now. The U.S. cattle herd today is at the lowest level in 50 years. Milk cows are the other large consumer of animal feed. The U.S. dairy herd is close to 10 million animals, and milk production has slowly increased over the years as more of it is turned into higher value products like cheese and with the growing popularity of yogurt. The biggest cost for crop farmers are fertilizer and energy, and the biggest cost for animal farmers is feed. It's not surprising, therefore, that all farmers' costs are a lot higher than they were before 2020. Here's the picture for fertilizer costs, where the change is even more dramatic. These charts do not include the recent surge in costs for energy and fertilizer prompted by the war in Iran. With higher costs for farmers, U.S. food prices today are a third higher than in 2020. And despite government intentions, there's not much retailers or farmers can do about it. The one certainty is that food prices will not be coming down. Retail prices also respond to changing demand. It's not surprising that the price for bread surged during the pandemic and then again in 2020 as the war in Ukraine cuts world wheat supplies, but the price has come down in the last 2 years. The cost of chickens follows a similar pattern, but with less of a spike. The price of bacon shot up in 2021 and has stayed there. And prices for steak have soared. The price of hamburger has followed the same path, increasing almost every year and again sharply in 2025, but a lot less than steak because imports of ground beef have increased the supply. As these charts show, farming is a difficult business. Costs are determined by world prices for energy and fertilizer, but they can't easily be passed on to consumers. The war in Iran has again pushed the cost of crude oil above $100 a barrel. Even if and when hostilities are over, it's almost certain that U.S. food prices will again be higher this year. Tracking the current state of agriculture can be done by looking at the growth of jobs in those industries that turn farm products into consumer goods. Jobs in chicken processing, for example, are currently growing at a strong 2% annual rate, as are jobs in dairy products. But bakeries have been laying workers off. The biggest farms that produce the biggest crops, corn, soybeans, and wheat, and with the largest animal herds, are already highly efficient and the most dependent on energy and fertilizer costs. More investment in their operations only produces small benefits. The best opportunities for bankers and investors are probably at the second level of size and with secondary products like lentils and yogurt. Investment in farm equipment is a lot less risky than money spent to acquire extra acres. And there are opportunities at small farms that are well managed, which many small farms are not, and that supply a purely local market with specialty products like mushrooms, high-quality meats, and organic vegetables. The agriculture sector is always changing and always provides new opportunities for investment. That's it. In this time of uncertainty, it's important for bankers and investors to stay on top of developments that affect the fortunes of their customers. Vertical IQ provides the data and analysis they need with detailed industry profiles in 330 metro markets. Thanks very much for following along. This is our Vertical IQ Industry Focus. I'm Ingo Windsor.